Hi, I'm Mark from bitcloutlist.com, and we've started this interview series to understand a bit more about the people behind the profile. I'm here with the young but extremely talented voice, Yogya, in BitClout right now. Welcome to the show, Yogya. How are you doing?
Thank you, man. I'm really cool. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So, to kick things off, why did you get into all this internet and coin stuff for?
Okay, so it's kind of a funny story, but believe it or not, I actually got into crypto like a week before I got into Bitclout, right? So I got onto Bitclout mid-March because of Sigil. Obviously, huge on the platform. Really cool. I'll tell you that story in a little bit. But I bought some Bitcoin with like my birthday money, you can say, and I transferred that to Bitclout. I think it was like $40, $50 worth of Bitcoin. I couldn't even like do anything with it because of the fees. So it's like still sitting there to this day. But so Sigil and I kind of know each other before Bitclout even started. This before this whole craze. We both go to a program called the Knowledge Society, which is like a human accelerator for teenagers, kind of focusing on different technologies and mindsets. And we have like this shared server place, like it's a Slack. And he was just talking about like BitCloud, how cool it was, and I think he posted about it when his coin was like $150. Like believe it or not, it's like I think it's like 4K now. So anyone who got in like really early, like they made a lot of money, right? But they're also trying to support him. So I got on because of that. I was like really interested in the platform, kind of curious on what it was. And I heard a lot about, Bitcoin this whole year. It's just been crazy for that, for that cryptocurrency. So I got on, wanted to see what it was about. And I made a couple of accounts, just like different meme accounts, because that's kind of like a big hype in the beginning. But I did started with that stuff, and then I really got into it like when a couple of different people posted about it, and Sigil especially. Like he was really interested and passionate about it. So I had a few conversations with him, and I think that's kind of like how it all started. I just started like posting randomly for fun, and it kind of led to what it is now.
Fantastic, yeah, and there's some really good creators on the platform, and what I like is just the diversity and where everybody's from, what point of life they're at, what they're where they are on the journey now, right? So, with that in mind, what are your sort of passions and what are you working on right now?
Yeah, okay. So for some context, for people who don't really know who I am, my name is Yogya. I'm 15. I'm from Toronto, and I am not like I'm not a koala, as my profile picture suggests. But I'm really interested in public health research, science, biology, chemistry, like pretty much all the technological sciences. That's kind of something that really fascinates me. And even before BitCloud, I always wanted to become a doctor. The cliche doctor, become a surgeon or whatever. But I'm slowly realizing that there's a lot more I can do, right? Like even with BitCloud, there's like crypto, blockchain, AI, machine learning, like all these different things are going to be the future. So I'm still trying to figure that out right now, but I am doing a couple of things to kind of help me, in that process. So currently I'm a research assistant at Harvard, just kind of focusing mainly on data visualization and analysis of the COVID-19 pandemic. I think one of my big goals personally, like this also aligns with my organization, which I can talk a little bit more about in the future or soon, is to kind of take data, which is just a bunch of numbers. It's really hard to understand, right? And make it so it's easy to understand with different types of mediums, whether that be like infographics, visualizations, different platforms allow you to do that. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So like my most recent project was looking into the impact or the second order impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on different causes of death, right? Like some of the obvious ones that you can probably think of is lockdown probably has caused decreased mental health for a lot of people, leading to more suicides, which has happened. Longer hospital wait times or surgery times because of the influx of patients, which leads to more deaths. That has happened. But some of the more like unobvious ones that we discovered was like for even for Alzheimer's, right? People in these types of different facilities, it's really hard for them to kind of move about and get taken care of properly. So even Alzheimer deaths have increased, right? So there's a bunch of different second order impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic that has actually like really changed the way our entire healthcare system works. And what we did is we also looked into like the past 15 years of these of data just on these different causes, and we pretty much made like a predictive algorithm that almost estimated the number of deaths that would actually happen if the pandemic did not occur, right? Like if there was no pandemic this year, how many Alzheimer's deaths would there be on an average? And what we did is we just pretty much compared the two numbers and had an analysis and whatnot, and we came to a good conclusion. So that paper is coming out in the next couple of months. We submitted it and everything, so it's all done. But that's kind of my most recent project.
Got it, yeah, and it's super important as well. I think for I guess if you look at a platform like Bitclout, it's a lot of the content that's being created much more sort of entertainment focused, and
Yeah,
it's a real like breath of fresh air to see that the work that you're doing to really like further the research and actually like really understand this in real time as well, because quite often these things take months if not years to uncover what's happening, so very very important. I guess there's a lot of misinformation on social
yeah.
media right now. Do you think it's possible that we can change this going forward, and if so, how?
hmm So this is like a big passion project of mine. I've like in the midst of the pandemic and lockdown, especially near the beginning to middle of last year, a lot of people felt really really hopeless, right? And helpless, not hopeless. And we really couldn't do much, right? Like aside from being a doctor or a healthcare worker, like there wasn't a lot that you could do just kind of being stuck at home. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of make sure people were aware and understood the pandemic instead of just hearing about it, right? Because that's where a lot of the problems come into play. Like I know one of the research papers I've been looking into is that I think around 60% of all like observed tweets about COVID-19 had some form of like misleading or false content, which is just crazy because most people, especially my age, are getting this information from Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, this and that, right? And it really isn't fact check at all. It isn't accurate. And that has caused a lot of problems, right? And especially like when big influential people start posting about this stuff, then it gets a little bit more controversial and hard to understand. But one of my big goals is to kind of fight the infodemic, is what we kind of call it, like the epidemic of misinformation. And I'm kind of doing that through one, the whole research aspect, and two, my own organization called CBT, or the Coronavirus Visualization Team. So pretty much we're a crowdsourced group of students from across the world. I think we're from every single time zone, which is kind of cool. We have over 800 lifetime members, mainly like undergrads and some master students as well as some like professors who kind of help mentor and stuff like that. We've had, I think, over 30 projects. A lot of them have been published. We've been on the news. And I think our biggest achievement, which I personally am like the most proud of, is we helped like donate, I think, around $400,000 worth of PPE last year. So we partnered with an organization called Supply Crate. We kind of helped out with those donations and marketing and whatnot. And also we've kind of helped influence specific decision making, with our papers and our research as well.
Okay, fantastic. And so is this that you've got a project? It's Lead 501c3. This is what you were talking about just now? Yeah.
Yeah. So
So-
So it's pretty much like a certified nonprofit. That's what a 501(c)(3) is, pretty much.
yeah.
And I wasn't the founder. Like I'm not old enough to kind of like incorporate. But
Yeah.
one of my like the actual founder of the organization, he did that, and I kind of got passed down the reins.
Yeah, definitely. And can you tell us a little bit about like what you're looking to achieve from this project, like long term? Because as we get out of lockdown now and the vaccine rollouts are happening across the world right now.
Yeah. So I mean, COVID-19 research is going to take a really really long time to fully complete and understand. So we're going to be focusing on that, but we're also slowly pivoting more towards some of the impacts of COVID-19 in other sectors, right? Like one of our
Yep.
projects was called fact checking the EPA, which was just like looking at environmental impacts and regulations, which are going to be super super long term, right? But also one of the other goals of our organization is to just provide skills like data visualization and analysis to students across the world. And this is all done virtually, which is, you know, one thing that COVID-19 has enabled. And I really hope that in the future, after this whole pandemic is done, we can continue with that because it is a really good
Mm.
form of connecting and networking. Like even this, right? It's
Yeah.
just crazy. Like the potential and opportunities that it has opened up, obviously at the cost of, lots of deaths and unfortunate events. But
Mm.
that's one of our big goals, just to kind of help people learn and research, because one of the other things I've noticed is that it's really hard to get experiences as a teenager, right? If you're under
Yeah.
18, you can't really go into a lab, or you can't really, work with professors or this or that. Like it's really hard to. So one of our big things is just to connect students from across the world with each other, just to kind of learn and grow together.
Yeah, I completely agree about that because I know when I was going into when I was at school and then moving into college and university, I was always trying to get experience, but there was always a case of oh, you're too young.
Yeah.
We don't actually take on people your age. So yeah, peer related growth and learning I think is incredibly important. I think the impact of online mentoring platforms I think are going to be ever more prevalent, especially in regulated industries, I think, where it's even more kind of, I guess, old school in some ways, you know.
Yeah.
um, yeah, and you mentioned your motto is life is short, not to take risks. What would you say at 15 is the biggest risk that you have taken recently?
To be honest, I think one of the biggest risks I've taken recently is just Bitclout itself, right? Getting on the
Yeah,
platform, kind of, expressing my emotions, my thoughts here and then. I'm putting like so much time and effort into this platform. Like
yeah,
even if, it failed or whatever, like there's obviously that risk, right? Something might happen to it. I still think that risk or that risk paid off because I met so many awesome people. I met you, I
yeah,
met Jake, I met like I've talked with Little Shark, I've talked with like so many really, really cool people who I just like always been really, really inspired by, right? So
yeah,
it's just mind blowing to me because like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, whenever it started, I didn't know anything about like blockchain or crypto or NFTs, but now I'm not an expert obviously, but I'm learning a lot from people, and it's just been a great experience so far.
yeah. It's been a great experience for me. Very very short time, but such a lot done, isn't there so far? You
Yeah,
know, and
yeah, yeah.
so many new people that I've connected with. It's been fantastic. I mean, so why the name X100 for the viewers out there?
Honestly, I actually don't know how that happened. Like, I was just like, the first thing I did when I got on the platform, like, just looking at other platforms like Twitter's, I just like scooped up a bunch of usernames.
Right.
I think I have like 30 accounts. There's like a big spreadsheet of, all the passphrases and whatnot. But like 100 is my main one just because I thought it was like the coolest. And I also like, one of my other mottos is putting 100% into everything I do. Like, not half-assing anything or just making sure that everything I'm doing is quality.
Yep.
And I think that kind of also inspired, why I chose that specific username. But yeah.
And you know, being honest, you must be the youngest person that I've come across that I've seen on BitClout. And what I was wondering is, like, have any of your friends gotten into it?
I mean, there have been a couple people, like I obviously got on because of Sigil and some other people got on because of me. I'm not gonna like
Yeah.
name names or whatnot because I don't know if like they're comfortable with that
No,
because also they're a
that's
little bit
fine.
of
Yeah.
a and they're also a little anonymous. But I mean, there has been a couple people, like a lot of people in my class have just messaged me because I posted about it, on my Instagram and whatnot. So people have asked me like what it was and stuff, and I told them before getting on the platform, you actually have to understand a little bit about blockchain and crypto because I had that background right from TKS from that program. Like we learned about cryptocurrencies and blockchain and how it works and whatnot. But a lot of these people don't even understand like what it is. So I think they need to be a little bit more like, aware of the technology before coming onto the platform. And I obviously offered my help and stuff. So I'm really excited for, people to start coming here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that was missing within education, at least when I was at school, was like financial education. But it seems that Bitcoin and just like playing around with it, starting it, doing it, exchanging it, that seems to be like a good way to get people to learn about money, I guess.
No, for sure. Like what really sucks is that even now, like we don't learn anything about anything in terms of like, finances. Like I was taking my business class and we were learning about like, how to manage a business and how to like, make sure like like profit margins and this and that, but we never really understood like how to do taxes. We never really understood how to like keep track of money. Like all this
Yeah.
key stuff, like that's kind of in the middle to get to that end goal is missing. And I think a lot of kids have started to take on that role of doing like that, that research on their own, whether that be with, cryptocurrencies or even like normal banking, um, just kind of like doing it on their own, which really sucks. And I really hope that, it improves in the future where people can kind of actually like, learn about it from people who are very, experienced. Like even for me, I've talked with people, right? And I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. But there are lots of kids who are very introverted and, to themselves who just kind of don't know what to do.
Yeah, definitely, and I think also it's like a willingness to start something new and then not be, I guess, kind of put off by, a year or two down the line, learning about something completely different as well. Which I think as people get older, that's what happens. They get very comfortable in their knowledge of what they have, and then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, this is completely new. I'm just going to stick to what I know, which is like regular fiat money, basically.
You have to get out of that discomfort zone, I think, right? Because I made a post about this like a while going back, but even in school right now, they're preparing us for jobs that are in the present, right? Like they're preparing us for accountants and bankers and this and that. But like we're gonna be graduating, like most of us will be graduating in 7, 8, 9 years, depending on, the level of university that you take. And by then, everything's gonna be completely different, right? Like we're gonna have to like figure stuff out on our own. So I really think that we should start preparing for the future now instead of, when it comes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so on that, so we talked about, your friends that are on Bitclout. How would you explain Bitclout to your mum?
I I actually had to do this like the other day um when everything happened. I had to explain to my parents. Like I got a full on like Bitcoin cake. I don't know if you saw that, but I got like a full cake with like the logo and everything on it because I was
Oh
like
wow.
super excited. Yeah, I'll send you the link after this. But
Yeah, please
I
do.
actually I ate the last slice last night, but cake was awesome by the way. But I had to explain to them, and I was telling them about like I think the easiest way to explain it is to parents, especially who aren't necessarily like into the whole space, is like I pretended like I was a stock, right? But instead of like being a company, I was a person. I was an individual with potential, with future endeavors, initiatives, and people who find me early or find the potential in me and they invest in me. Like in the long term, they can take out their profits and stuff like that. So I kind of explained it like a stock almost, but I also explained it like the whole social aspect of it, like a community of sorts where I can be comfortable talking about like different problems or different things I want to get advice on. So that's kind of how I explain it to them. They're still like a little puzzled, which is completely okay. Like I think as Bitclout, rolls out more features and becomes more mainstream, it'll just be easy to kind of understand because right now it's like either you're very lucky and you got on really early because of someone else, or you're like a
Yep.
crypto nerd, or you're like very knowledgeable in this space, right? So I think we need to kind of expand that, and once that happens, it'll be a little bit more easier to understand.
Well, yeah, and maybe even, as the more API partners come on, maybe that's, translating it to the masses and making it easier rather than having to, learn about an exchange, transfer into Bitcoin, then into BitClout, then onto your coin and all the rest. There's got to be a quicker, easier way than three different currency, transactions.
That's I think that's one of the biggest problems for the platform right now. Just like the whole onboarding. Like even for me, I
Yep.
was talking to you before. I put in like I think $40 of Bitcoin, right? Because that's all I had as a 15-year-old. I don't have like thousands of dollars like some of the other people here. So I put in $40. I paid like $10 for a network fee from my Coinbase to Bitcoin, and to convert it to to convert the Bitcoin to Bitcoin, I had like another $10 fee, and I had to have like a minimum of like $70 or $80 worth of Bitcoin. So it was just stuck there, and it's still stuck there. And even if I want to take it out now, like pretty much like 90% of it is gonna go to fees. So I just kind of like left it be. So I think the onboarding process needs to be a little bit more smoother. I don't know how that'll happen, but even something as simple as like the clubhouse rooms that Raj hosts, where people can just like ask questions while they're figuring it all out, like while they're transferring the money, while they're setting up their account. I think that was really awesome, and it actually helped me a lot personally. But I think there needs to be that support, especially when they're coming onto the platform.
Yeah, that does. It sounds like there could be some sort of like buddy up system, but
Yeah.
they'd have to be like because of all the scammers that we know are kind of out there on Telegram and all over the internet. You'd need to have some sort of trust mechanism on the blockchain to be like, oh, actually, Mark or Yogya can like help you and guide you through this transaction because it's really complicated otherwise. So I know I've shown a few of my friends and like how to use a like a cold storage and all that kind of stuff, and how not to keep it on exchanges and stuff. And then I'm like, I'm spending more time educating than I am actually.
Yeah.
uh,
It has to be
so
easier to understand, I think. But that'll come with time, I think. This is so new still, so I'm not too worried about that.
and so where do you see BitClout going in the future?
Hmm. This is an interesting question because like I myself have been thinking about like the vision that I want the platform to become. And I was kind of comparing it to places like Instagram, right? Or like where there's a clear hierarchy of like followers, engagement, and it's very hard to get noticed, right? Because if
Yep.
you don't have a big presence outside of the platform, like if you're not a celebrity or on a TV show or on a movie, it's really hard to build up a community, right? It's probably like I'm seeing 99% of the people that follow me on Instagram are like people I know personally, like friends or family or like schoolmates, right? But I think
Yep.
Bitcoin can be a community where you can build it, right? Like you can build a following, you can build a niche. Like my niche specifically is like random thoughts or philosophical thoughts, or even just like random funny memes that I kind of think of sometimes. But like that's my specific niche. That's like the things that people like to see from me. So that's kind of how I'm building it up. But I really hope Bitcoin can become a platform of like creators, musicians, artists, NFT makers, random people who just have really, really good insight can monetize their content and just build a community based off that, and maybe even expand into other things, right? Like for an example, an NFT artist can build their community on Bitclout, which results in more sales for them on their NFTs. Musician
Yeah.
can do the same. Like I know one musician, I think his name is Falsa Music. He got into Clubhouse like when he first got on, and he sang for us, right? And his music was awesome. It was great. And I think the other day he was like, now he's like a regular on Clubhouse singing every week or something like that, right? And he built that community, and people know who he is because of that one Clubhouse stream, right? So
Yeah.
as Sigil says, serendipity is an awesome thing, and I think that BitClout is a platform just of serendipity.
Yeah, definitely. I think the monetization was definitely a thing early on, where if you were to buy your coin, sorry, if someone was to buy your coin, but then as a creator you want to pull some of it out, then that can affect the price, and then
Yeah.
that became like really complicated. And like, does it kind of like really annoy your fans and coin holders? So when they changed that to being able to earn BitClout out of every time somebody buys your coin, I think this could be the key to unlocking much more value and for encouraging more content creators. Do you think the model will change at all in terms of monetization and other things? Do you think it will naturally evolve, or?
I think I don't know like about the development side of things, but I think like the social structure of BitClout will change a little bit. Like right now, if you sell even like zero point 0.1 of your coin, you're like considered a rugger or like whatever, right? Like people
Yeah,
like start hating on you. But I think slowly that'll become more normalized, right? Like I know some people who I know like Wallshark owns like 200 of his own coin, right? Which is crazy. Like I only own seven, which is kind of my fault for not putting a lot of money in earlier. But I think it'll slowly become normalized as long as you can explain why, right? Like I know
yeah,
people explain like, oh, I'm donating to charity, right? Because it's some of my promises. So I'm taking out zero point 0.5 of my coin, or I'm taking zero point 0.5 of my coin to pay for like an NFT that I'm creating, or zero point 0.5 of my coin to kind of make this like new platform that's going to build on top of Bookout. So I think it's going to change like that just naturally. Um, but I'm excited to see what really happens. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And so yeah, if you could, so where can viewers like find out more about you on the internet and follow your projects essentially?
I have a pretty like unique name. I think I've met one other person like online that has the same name as me. So even if you just Google my name, my first name is actually like a city, which is kind of surprising. So you have to have my first and last name, which is
Okay.
Yogya Kalra, Kalra. If you just Google me, you'll see everything like my LinkedIn, my projects, my organization, and one day hopefully Bitcloud as well pops up there. But that's kind of how you can like, continue following me.
Fantastic, yeah. And if you could recommend one other friend on our platform, BitClout List YouTube channel to be interviewed, who would you choose?
There's so many awesome people. I have to think about this. I think like one of the most awesome people that I've met and like built a personal relationship with is ASG. So the guy who created Bits today, like he has been a mentor of mine. It's kind of weird to say, but it's been like 2 weeks. He's helped me out. We've talked for 2 weeks, and I think he's just like an awesome person overall, and he's really really passionate about building the community, supporting small creators, and he obviously built Bits today, which I think is going to be one of the biggest like extensions to BitClout in the near future. Like it has so much value, just kind of like a recap for people who just take a day or two off. So definitely him. He has lots of really really good insight and perspective. So definitely like talk to him for sure.
So is it at ASG for the listeners?
Yes, at ASG. His name is Andrew.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for your time. I think both myself and probably a lot of the listeners out there are very inspired by, the work that you're doing to, really extend like life sciences, especially at such a young age, and also really like level out the playing field globally for getting mentorship at such a young age. I think it's fantastic, and I wish I had kind of more people like you when I was 15, So no, I think it's really good, really amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like more of your content created and seeing like where all your projects go as well. And if Bitclout List can support you in any way, I'm sure we can help.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you.